Jai Sitaram. Ayodhya Ch, chapter 16. In the previous section, we saw how Sumantra enters the inner chambers of Lord Rama and he sees Rama lying down on a very beautiful golden couch wherein Sita Ma is fanning him with a white camara. And Sumantra mentions that both Kaikeyi as well as Dashratha are wanting to see him. And Rama tells Mother Sita to play with her friends, to be with her friends, and he is definitely going to go and take a look at what his mother and father have to say. Verse 21. Pati sammanita Sita bhartaram asita ikshana advaram anuvavraja mangalani abhidadyushi. Rama cast around her shoulders a rare necklace of priceless pearls and honored her and persuaded her to reconcile herself to his absence. The pearl necklace, which was around Rama's shoulders, made their way for another rarer and more priceless. The love-laden looked from the dark and unfathomable depths of Sita Ma's eyes. Her home was ever in the heart of Rama, and she naturally followed him as far as etiquette allowed, calling down upon his beloved head every blessing that she could think of. So this is the first time we are going to listen to Sita Ma speak in Valmiki Ramayana. Verse 22. Rajyam dvijati bhirjushtam rajasuyabhishechanam kartum arhati te raja vasavasyeva lokakrit. I pray that no evil eye rest upon all this boundless beauty and loveliness. May the bright gods keep away from my Lord every harm and evil. May His Majesty place you upon the throne of your glorious ancestors of happy memory and crown you later on in all pomp and ceremony during the holy Rajasuya, even as the demiurge placed the crown of the three worlds on the brows of Indra. Verse 23. Dikshitam vrata sampannam vara Jinadharam Shuchim Kurangapanim Cha Pashyanti Tvam Bhajamyaham. I long to see you in sacrificial attire, your initiatory vow taken, pure intent upon the observance of vows, holy butter on your limbs, a deer skin around your shoulders, and a deer horn in your hands. Verse 24. Purvam disham vajradharo dakshinam patute yamaha varunaha paschimamasham dhaneshastottaram disham. May Indra watch over you in the east, Yama in the south, Varuna in the west, and Kubera in the north. Verse 25. Atha Sitam Anugnyapya Krita Kantuka Mangalaha Nishchakrama Sumantrena Saha Ramo Niveshanat. Rama took leave of Sita, completed the happy preliminaries to his coronation, and came out of his chambers with Sumantra. Verse 26. Parvata diva nishkramya simha giri guhashayah Lakshmanam dvarisho apashyat pravanjali putam stitham. Rama emerged like the noble lion from his rocky lair. Lakshmana awaited them at the gates, who was bowing down with palms of hands joined and put to the forehead as a mark of respect. Verses 27 and 28. अथ मध्यमकक्षायां समागच्छत् सुहृज्जनैः स सर्वान् अर्थिनो दृष्ट्वा समेत्य प्रतिनन्द्य च ततः पावकसङ्काशम् आरुरोह रथ उत्तमं वैयाघ्रं पुरुषव्याघ्र राजनन्दनः. Then, in the central hall, Rama came upon his friends and those that waited to see him and gave them kind looks and fair greetings. Then onto the lofty chariot of silver, bright as the blazing fire, very commodious it was, and richly wrought with gem and gold that blinded the eye like the noonday sun. Rare tiger skins covered the seats. Verses 29 and 30. Meghanadam sambadham manihema vibhushitam mushnantam iva chakshumsi prabhaya hema varchasam karenu shishu kalpaihi cha yuktam parama vajibihi hari yuktam sahastra aksho ratham indraiva ashugam prayayau turnam asthaya raghavo jvalitah shriya. Horses of purest breed were yoked to that wonderful chariot, and they looked more like elephant calves. The noise of the rolling wheels was like the rumbling of clouds. Raghava sprang upon it and drove fast to his father's mansion, even as Indra in a celestial car drawn by the green horses. Verse 31. Saparjanyaiva akashe svanavan abhinadayan niketan niryayau shriman maha abhrat iva chandramaha. As the rolling of distant thunder amongst the hills, or as the Lord of Night springing from the rising mountain, Rama proceeded on his way. Verse 32. Chatra chamara panistu Lakshmano Raghava Anujaha Jugopa bhrataram bhrata ratham asthaya prishtataha. Lakshmana, his other self, guarded his back, the umbrella of state held aloft in one hand, and moon-white chamara in the other. Verse 33. Tataha hala hala shabdaha tumulaha samajayata tasya nishkramamanasya jana oghasya samantataha. The assembled thousands raised a shout of joy at the sight of him that rent the very skies. Verse 34. Tato hayavara mukhya nagascha girisannibhaha anujag mustada ramam shatasho atha sahasrashah. Crowds followed him upon fleet horses, camels, elephants, and chariots. Verse 35. Agratascha sannadhaschanda guru bhushitaha kadga chapadharaha shura jagmura shamsavo janaha. Bands of chosen veterans, flashing bright with steel and gold, marched before him, his welfare and safety their only care. Verse 36. Tato vaditra shabdascha stuti shabdascha vadinam simhanadascha shuranam tada shushruvere pathi. The sweet strains of martial music, the plaudits of bards and heralds, and the war cries of veteran chiefs all rose upon the air in pleasant confusion as the Lord marched along the royal road. Verse 37. हर्मवतायनस्तभिर्भूषिताभिः समन्ततः कीर्यमाणः सुपुष्पौघैर्ययौ स्त्रीभिररिन्दमः. Countless ladies in faultless attire scattered fragrant flowers upon the beloved prince and extolled him high in the joy of their hearts. Verse 38. Ramam sarvanavadhyangyo Rama piprishaya tatah vachubir agrer harmyastha Kshitistascha vavandare. Women of exquisitely beautiful form, standing in palaces and on grounds, were offering salutations to Rama with the best words, with the only desire to please Rama. Verse 39. Nunam nanditi te mata Kaushalya matra nandana pashyanti siddhyataram tvam pitriyam rajyam upasthitam. O enhancer of Kaushalya's delight, proceed to take upon yourself the government of this fortunate Kaushalya, handed down by your ancestors of illustrious memory. Your mother's heart will surely swell to see you seated on the throne of the Ikshvakus and hold sway over fortunate millions. Verse 40. Sarva Seemantinibhyascha Sitam Seemantinim Varam Amanyanta Hita Naryo Ramasya Hridaya Priyam. Again, there is none that fortunate holds so dear as our beloved Sita. Marvelous indeed must have been the merit she has laid up in her past lives to raise her to the envied rank of your favorite wife and faithful. Verse 41. Taya sucharitam devya pura nunam mahattapah rohiniva shashankena Rama samyogamapaya. She is ever like the star Rohini, ever inseparable from the moon. Verse 42. Iti prasada shringeshu pramadabhir narotamaha shushrava rajamargasthaha priya vacha udahritaha. So spoke many a dame, and Rama loved them all the more for their sweet sympathy and whole-souled devotion. Verse 43. Sa Ragavaha tatra katha pralapam shushrava lokasya samagatasya atma adhikara vividaha cha vachaha prakhrishta rupasya pure janasya. Thus Rama heard the words of people gathered there, and also the words variously pertaining to himself by the citizens. Verse 44. Esha Shriyam Gacchati Ragavo Adya Raja Prasadat Vipulam Gamishyan Ete Vayam Sarva Samriddha Kama Yesham Ayam No Bhavita Prashasta. Rama that goes yonder is the gem of his glorious line and richly deserves the love and esteem of Dasharatha, who means to invest him with unbounded sway, and that means the realization of our dearest hopes. Verse 45. Labho janasya asya yad esha sarvam prapatsiyate rashtram idam chiraya sa ghoshavadbihi cha hayai sanagaihi purah sarai swastika suta magadaihi. It is the greatest good that can ever befall us, for when Rama becomes the guardian of our interests, none of us will ever know what it is to want or grieve. Verse 46. So Ghoshavadbhishcha Hayai Sanagaihi Purasaraihi Svastika Sutam Magadaihi Mahiyamanaha Pravaraihi Ch Vadikaihi Abhishtutaha Vaishravano Yathayayau. So ran the words from the assembled crowds in glad acclaim. Rama heard them all and resolved to deserve better their love and confidence. Through huge squares and spaces he drove, dense with bulls, elephants, and cows, horses and cars, along long lines of palatial stores filled with the rarest products of nature and art, past bands of bards, minstrels, heralds, and panegyrists. Verse 47. Karenu matanga ratha ashva samkulam mahajana oghaihi paripurna chatvaram prabhuta ratnam bahupanya samchayam tadarsha ramo vimalam mahapatham. Sweet strains of festive music mingled with joyful neighs of horses and trumpeting of elephants and the solemn benedictive chants of brahmanas. And so he drove along the royal road, even as the guardian of riches, onto where his father's palace stood. This is the conclusion of the 16th chapter of Ayodhya Kand. One of the most important things that we see over here is how much the Ayodhya Vasis love the Lord. When he travels from his palace to Dashratha's palace, people were singing his glories, people were walking in front of him, people were praising him. And this particular Rama, who is universally praised, who is always surrounded by his devotees, was the one who went to the forest. And this is very important because when Bharata comes and sees Rama in Chitrakuta, he says that the Rama who was once surrounded by the most important people in the kingdom is now surrounded by wild animals of the forest. So we get to see the dire contrast between Lord Rama, the prince of Ayodhya, and Rama, the Tyaga king of Ayodhya. The one who sacrificed everything at the altar of Dharma and went off to the forest. We get to see a huge difference in the surroundings of these two Ramas, but that Rama is always the same, the one who always wants what is best for his devotees. So in the next chapter, we are going to see more about the journey that Rama goes through to his father's palace. Mangalam Koshalendraya Mahaniya Gunabde Chakravarti Dhanuchaya Sarva Bhaumaya Mangalam. Jai Sitaram.